You're listening to the West Midlands radio station, BBC WM.
This morning, though, talking about the state of immigration to the UK. Is it a good thing, or are we letting too many people into the country? It's always an issue that gets you very fired up indeed. Our Facebook page this morning is full of comments, which we're getting round to reading this morning, and we're going to put some of your points now to the Immigration Minister, Phil Wallace, who was in Birmingham yesterday talking to various local groups and authorities about the issues surrounding immigration. Mr Wallace is on the line right now. Good morning, Mr Wallace.
Good morning.
And also with us this morning is the West Midlands UKIP MEP, Nikki Sinclaire, live from Brussels. Morning, Nikki.
Good morning, Phil.
Phil, if I can just start with you, we heard there were lots of people very angry about the situation with immigration in this country. You've heard voices on BBC WM already this morning expressing that. We're going to hear some more in a minute. What do you say to those people this morning?
What I say is that the government's managed migration system, which we've been bringing in over the last 4 years, is the right thing to do. It is controlling migration, and it is necessary in the modern world where global migration is on the increase. I
mean, a lot of people see it as being open to all. On the one hand, we have unemployment here in the West Midlands at almost 10%, one of the worst in the country, and still we're letting more people in. Few people on our Facebook page this morning saying there's not enough jobs for us, let alone for others that are coming in. What do you say to them?
Well, at the meeting in the Council House yesterday in Birmingham, a large number of the organisations involved in immigration were criticising the government for being too tough. Obviously, large numbers of people think that we're too soft, so the truth, I suspect, is in the middle somewhere. Regarding the jobs, what we have, the great advantage with the points-based system is that you can identify skill shortages where you can bring in temporary migrants, but at the same time what we now do is require training and education courses for local people to fill those jobs that the skill shortages are currently filled by the migrants. There'll always be some level of migration, of course. There are certain skills, for example, in the NHS, we need international movement of skilled labour. But what we have now is the managed migration system through the points-based system, and I think that when the public know about it, they support it.
Going to put some of the points of our listeners to you in a second, Mr Wallace. In the meantime, Nikki Sinclaire from UKIP, too tough or too soft, the government on immigration?
Well, I think the whole immigration policy has failed. I mean, the mantra in 97 should have been immigration, immigration, immigration. They've given control of our borders away to the European Union. And what Phil Wallace was just saying is very disingenuous when he talks about the point system, because what he's actually talking about is people coming in from outside the European Union. He doesn't include those that come over. And what the people in the West Midlands feel is there's been too much immigration from Eastern Europe. And at the time, the Labour government said there's only going to be 13,000 immigrants into the UK as a whole. Now, they're actually claiming that 700,000 have gone back. So by their own admittance, they totally got this wrong. And also the fact that, this has placed a severe strain in the West Midlands on our public services and our schools and our hospitals. And the people of the West Midlands knows they can see it and they can feel it. And they don't care about these government statistics because they know they're wrong. They know they've been lied to. They can see the problems. As you said, the West Midlands have got 9.6 unemployment. It's actually the worst in the UK. Manufacturing jobs have gone. We need controlled immigration.
Well, let me put the point to Mr Wallace then. Your stats are wrong.
Well, I mean, the problem with debating with UKIP is that you end up with a barroom rant. The lady has just said that manufacturing jobs have gone, and yet we shouldn't be in the European Union. My goodness me, if we weren't in the European Union, the manufacturing sector would be very damaged.
The European Union has lost us our jobs. The European Union has cost us our car plant in Brighton went to Slovakia under EU finance. Well, let me actually paid for our jobs to be lost in Coventry. That's the reality of our membership of the European Union.
Well, let me put a point from one of our listeners this morning. Chris Brown, one of our listeners, and again, Mr Wallace, you can either sort of back this up or not, but Chris Brown says, please remember last year more people left this country than entered it. Also in the last couple of years, it's actually been more difficult to get in due to the stricter guidelines you've been talking about. Statistically, is that true? More people left this country last year than entered it?
If only it was that simple. Do you mean temporary or permanent?
Well, he doesn't say that, does he, on his Facebook page? But
there is a net last year there was a net inflow if you define immigration by people coming for over 12 months. That, of course, includes all the overseas students in Birmingham, of which there are tens of thousands. The biggest single group interestingly, of immigrants coming to Britain last year were actually British people returning home. There are 2.2 million of us live in the European Union, and Nikki has to address that point. What would she say to the 500,000 British people who live in Spain? But the fact that your listeners are interested in is that net migration is coming down, in part, not wholly, but in part due to the points-based system. And we've said that we will make sure that the PBS controls migration, and you've seen the tougher border controls that we have that your listener refers to.
Right. So rather than be attacking Ms Sinclaire, what would UKIP want our immigration system to be more like?
Well, I think we need a controlled... We certainly need migration into the country, but it needs to be controlled to the skills that we need. Okay, so that therefore we need, just like the US, Australia, New Zealand and Canada, that's the system we need, but from every country, including the European Union, not just outside the European Union. If anything, if any of the skills that we should need to come into the country, it should be countries that we have links with, for example, like India and the Caribbean, countries that this country traditionally has had links with. We've had no links with countries like Poland and Romania and Bulgaria, because now we're due a severe influx of Bulgarians. And when they said that UKIP brings up these policies, it was us that said in 2004, before the succession, that we were going to have a massive influx of Eastern Europeans. We were told that we were scaremongering, and the Labour government said it's only been about 13,000, and it's been over 1 million, and even government figures are claiming 700,000 have gone back. But it's not, because people can feel that in the West Midlands. People, and you will get comments from people in the West Midlands that they feel overrun, their public services have been stressed.
Well, let me put some more of those comments to Mr. Wooler, so let me just come back on what Ms Sinclaire said there first. Mr.
Well, I think that the Polish people will be amazed to hear that Poland has got no links with the United Kingdom, given that we fought the Second World War for that country.
Well, we fought the Second World War with many countries. We fought the Second World War with Russia. Should we allow the whole of Russia?
Well,
let me
get
we
some
went
of the...
to war because Hitler invaded Poland.
Don't want to rerun the second... Mr. Wallace, Ms Sinclair, don't want to rerun the Second World War. We're going to break for travel news in a second, but I have a point from Sharon Falconer as a listener who probably like a point of view sort of heard this morning. Don't have a problem with people wanting to come and live into our country, subject to some conditions. One, they're equipped with the skills and desires to earn a living and contribute to the communities they live in. They live by the laws of our land. If they break the laws, we deport them. They don't preach hatred against our country, way of life, religion and people, and they make every effort to learn the language and integrate into society. Those are all good things, Mr. Willis, aren't they? Are you able to implement those?
Yes, we are doing. I agree with that. 5,400 foreign national prisoners deported last year. It's automatic that you're deported if you commit a crime with a 12-month sentence. In terms of the English language test, of course, it was this government that introduced that idea to howls of protest from the left and the right, and now it's common sense. Regarding the points about playing by the rules, I agree with that. Of course, there is free speech, and if somebody becomes a citizen and they've earned that right, they're entitled to their point of view within the law.
People, for example, from Eastern European who've had convictions for rape and serious violent crimes, they have entered into the UK and there's no way of stopping them coming in. And these people have reoffended again in the UK. And also, the government did away with our border controls. So therefore, we actually have no idea of who's actually leaving the country. There's no way. We don't have an exit system like the United States has. If you ever go to you have a card and you enter and you have an exit system. You do not have that in the UK.
Nikki, please, the most controversial issue in immigration policy is the fact that we have reintroduced the border control. You can't say we don't have border control.
You have no system of exit. So
we have the electronic border control. We have the electronic border control.
You don't. You have no idea.
Mr. Willis, Ms. Sinclair, we'll go to break off for some travel news in a second. Let me ask one question we've been asking our listeners this morning. Is there time to put a cap on our population numbers? We're at 60 million at the moment. We've been asking listeners whether that number should be capped at 70, 80, maybe 100 million people. What's the government's point of view on setting a cap on our population numbers, Mr. Willis?
The government have made it very clear that the result of our net migration policies is that the population will not reach the projection that has been made of 70 million, unless, of course, the birth and death rate are affected. And we have to be clear that the issue of population and the issue of net migration are two different things.
Nikki Sinclair, UKIP, would they call for a cap on our population?
I think what we need to take the migration very seriously. We need to control our own borders and only allow people into the country that we need to supplement our...
That's not a yes or a no, though, is it?
Well, we obviously need whatever's needed to make the country run. If manufacturing and industry and our agriculture needs workforce, needs a supplement the workforce, then there's a room for migration, isn't there?
Both of you, thank you very much indeed for your time this morning. Bill Willis, the Immigration Minister on BBC WM, who was in Birmingham yesterday hosting the debate on immigration at the Council House, and West Midlands UKIP MEP Nikki Sinclaire with us on BBC WM.